Good evening and welcome down to Weather Down in Muletown. As always, this is your captain speaking. Currently, it's I don't know what in Sunnyside because I think my weather station has finally completely frozen up. So gonna have to grab a new one as soon as the Amazon truck can make it into the old hood. So, other than that. I think the low has bounced around pretty good today, just with this warm nose invading. Again, forgive me, don't have the usuals all ready to go. Been busy, irons and fires, doing things, literal fires, metaphorical fires, so on and so forth. But I do have a couple of more things at least prepared to show you all and discuss, talk about. Etc., so on and so forth. So we'll get right on into that. First things first, I want to get to the big things. So still under that winter storm warning. This is what I was talking about, folks. We probably knew we were going to have some lulls in between the action as far as the mixed precip, snow, sleet, freezing rain, sleet, freezing rain, rain, snow, sleet, freezing rain, and all back and forth and all sort of sideways and slant ways and long ways and all the ways in between over the last pretty much all day today, since about I think daylight or a little bit before, as most folks looks like they start sawing, oh sorry, brain is fried, folks, seeing that frozeny, liquidy, snowy type precip start falling over the day. Everybody, of course, shout out the snow amounts and all that fun stuff, and the ice amounts if you've got a decent way to measure it. They're in the chat for sure if you haven't given us those already, or some pictures on the thread, or gone in and looked at our road condition thread. Here in a couple hours I'll be starting a new one for today. Of course, we always try to do that anytime we have any kind of like high impact weather events, just to be another thing here in the community that we can do to help y'all and help each other out when things like this come to pass. You know, pretty rare usually, just for the most part around here, but we do generally get our ice just about as much as we get the snow and the decent stuff this time of year. And unfortunately, hate to break the bad news. Well, it's not bad news, it just is what it is, and it varies year by year. But to my recent transplants and New Tennessee folks, we still have February yet to go. So just buckle up, stay tuned as far as that goes, and I promise it's not always like this every year. So widespread power outages, again, biggest thing we're going to talk about. It's not going to be the snow. Still pretty low chances of that. I think we fulfilled maybe in some parts closer to our 2, but most everybody I'd say got at least 1.5, I think 2 on the top side. But even the northern end of Murray County didn't perform as quite as well there. You see kind of those totals dropping off around like the I-40 corridor there, more so instead of say Santa Fe, extreme northern Murray, or like Fairview. So knew that was going to be the case overall. And then again, yeah, the issue is going to be the ice, folks. So still seeing that vein of heavy ice coming through that southwest to northeast kind of motion there through the mid-state area. Still seeing it on the models, still seeing it in the forecast graphics. We're still kind of in the neighborhood there of seeing those half-inch, three-quarter-inch or better ice accretions being possible. Again, that's the big question at this point, and it all deals with a couple of things about thermodynamics and some completely crazy physicsy stuff, and we'll break that down here in just a minute, because that's been a big question. How does this work? Why are we getting liquid rain falling? It's 30 degrees. What in God's name is going on? Got the answer for that, folks. It's sciencey, and it's really cool if you're a nerd like me, just saying. So we'll get to the basics, and we'll cover that here in just a minute. So other question comes up a lot, timeline. So off and on, probably between now and tomorrow morning, we're going to talk about that in just a second, we'll be seeing some off and on different mixed kind of precip. So snow in certain places of northern middle Tennessee, but generally everywhere south of 40 looking like they're going to see mostly mix, and there may even be some mix up in the Nashville, Davidson County area too, just depending. So the ice may be an issue there around the 40 corridor as well. But for our area, generally speaking, may see some liquid rain, may see some freezing rain, still some sleety snow or snowy sleet. Either way you want to look at that there. You can check that out here in just a second. But between now and tomorrow morning, basically, you can see that off and on. Maybe more off than on. Some of the models are looking a little bit more optimistic there as far as the coverage and the intensity of that. Some of them originally, had it showing like all night long tonight, which was definitely not going to be good and add to those ice accretion totals. But some of those have backed off there, so that's definitely good news. We'll talk about that as well. But Sunday day, it's going to pick up, and then that's when we're looking at some of again, if some of the model guidance is correct, that's when we're going to be looking at some of our heavier precip amounts and ice accretions going on. So it's tomorrow. I know a lot of folks saying, hey, it didn't happen. What's going on? What was everybody worried about? It's hold on. It's still building, like it's coming, folks. It's tomorrow, the back end of this. We were hoping they weren't going to connect, and it's looking like they won't, but the models are still trending at some pretty heavy ice accretion amounts if that all comes to pass. And then again, there towards the end of the timeline, getting really, really cold. That much, pretty much all the models agree that it's going to be cold, and then possibly some windy temps kind of inching us even closer to a dangerous situation, or definitely a less than optimal situation for those crews out there trying to restore some power outages. Heard of a couple so far, but nothing too widespread, I don't think, around our area. If you know of any different, definitely let us know about that. Again, that's something we try to keep track of and kind of help get the word around to avoid XYZ area if there's trees across the road or lines down, because obviously anytime you encounter a power line, you want to assume that it is live and steer just well clear of it. So looking at CPWS's map right now, and it looks like we're good actually, so that's great news. But again, 4Ps going through all of this cold between now and the next couple of days, beginning of next week. 4Ps, people, pets, pipes, and your plants. I mean, plants, okay, no big deal. You should already have them inside by this point. Or I said on the page the other day, 5-gallon bucket and a handful of newspaper will work wonders under most circumstances. You may have to kind of bolt it down or throw a brick on top of it, but it usually will get the job done. But definitely those pets, like I said, you shut in folks at church, anybody making sure, that they've just got what they need. If they're not able to get out and move around good or anything like that, or have any of those medical conditions and stuff, make sure they got their meds or whatever else. Check on your people, and then definitely those pipes as well. Just got done doing that in the middle of the summer, and just trust me, you don't want to do that. So ice accumulation for tonight. Again, think this has backed off a little bit. I pulled it fresh, 9 p.m. So still thinking there could be some possibilities of I'm assuming that's going to be overnight, through 6 a.m. So that's counting, maybe a little bit of the possibilities for tomorrow morning coming up as well. But the main thing looks to be, again, around daytime. So when I say tonight, I'm not 100% talking about tonight here, because that's running it through 6 a.m. But most of Murray County there in those significant ice accretion, or has a stripe going through eastern Murray County around Culleoka, say, moving towards Marshall County. But everybody else pretty much in the elevated, so not as much of a better situation to be in there as far as that goes. So Sunday night, pretty much similar story. Significant ice accretion there, that vein that we're trying to think about where it may come through. Models are still playing around with that, but it's still flirting around to really close to Murray County area or parts of. So definitely keep an eye on that as we go. And my inner weather geek, so maybe slight possibility tonight during some of the heavier bands, say down to our some of our ice storm warned counties down there to our southwest and extreme southern counties, or out there along the Alabama line. There may be a little bit of lightning. So if you get it, please tag me. I've always wanted to see thunder sleet, thunder snows, thunder something. And it's one of the few things on my weather bucket list I haven't seen. So it's geeked. I'm hoping at least, again, we can have something cool out of it if we have to get it. So aforementioned model. So run through here starting 8 p.m. tonight. Running through, seeing maybe some of that off and on mixed liquid rain, freezing rain back and forth, maybe even some heavier pockets of rain, maybe some lightning down there. But then much after daylight, you see that heavy freezing rain band kind of come through and pick up. They're moving laterally kind of southwest, northeast, but mostly east across the area there and clearing out a little bit afternoon. Most of the models, I think, have it between about 10 or 12. Roll that again, kind of see that again. Timestamps are up there in the top left. Again, pink there is on the scale at the bottom, freezing rain. The green and the yellow is, regular liquid rain or kind of moderately heavy rain. And then back to that mix there. You see the sleet band up crossing around Bowling Green, Clarksville, and then the snow behind it up to the north. We just kind of missed our chance this time, but we always, it seems, end up with the ice out of it. And it's just kind of our climate, how our weather works, and the moisture comes from the Gulf. It's always too warm, or our cold air from way up north dries out our moisture, and that's just how it rolls down here more than often. So just one of those things, folks. All right. And then same version, NAM starting around 8, but it's going in, I think, 3-hour increments here, so things move a little bit quicker, so you have to kind of fill the gaps in there as far as your mind goes, but clearing out about 6 p.m. Sunday around 3 to 6, so maybe a little bit later, but it's also got maybe that ice vein running a little bit, maybe more towards northwest Murray County, maybe portions of western Murray County, Williamsport, but definitely Santa Fe area right there around the border towards Spring Hill. And that main vein comes through there at, let's see what that was, 3, 6, 9, noon, 3. So yeah, around noon to 3, maybe a little bit of snow or mix there on the back end, but pretty scattered and shouldn't be anything to amount to at all from the look of things. So I have a look here around the area right now, throw this in motion for you. Same color scheme here, pink being the freezing rain, and then the green, yellow. It's applying an algorithm here. Let's take it out, and I'll explain all this in a second. I'll load that graphic back into the broadcast software here, and I'll show you what I mean, because it's definitely a process. Really cool, all sciencey and stuff, but let's see. And then we'll talk about the projected totals and some of the other stuff as far as the nerdery of everything goes as soon as we look at this. So then again, this is just regular radar. Back to looking at no type. This is what we look at, say, severe weather mode all the time, just regular old scale over here. The software has the latest environmental conditions, it updates all the time from NWS data, private sources, colleges, all kind of stuff. This thing pulls from everywhere, and it applies atmospheric data, temps, winds, different layers of the atmosphere all have kind of different conditions and things going on, and then the nearest the ground, all these things are interacting, and it's so many moving pieces, and all of it has to cooperate usually just right for us, or we end up drying out, or like I said, we get the ice, or it ends up being just a big messy slush fest. So put the algorithm back on, and that's how we're doing all this. So it's looking at what it sees in the radar, and that's how it kind of gets this messy cluster way over here. Like when we look at like Dayton, Saudi Daisy around the mountains here, it's looking higher up in the air. The radar looks out in a big cone, so the farther it gets away from the radar site here in Old Hickory, the higher it's looking up. So that's why it kind of sees some of this other stuff as being like snow or mix, when it's probably the same stuff that's falling here, or just not as intense snow or mix because it's looking way higher up in the atmosphere. So applies all that algorithm and says, okay, I think this is going to be falling as liquid. This may be a big pocket of whatever because it's way up. This is probably mix because this is fairly close to the radar, or it could just be catching the stuff that's initially kind of too far up, really, really close to the radar. Again, radars, it's a process as well, but this last hour or so worth of run here, see we had some of that heavier mix coming through. Pause it and run it scan by scan. Look at just the areas around Mount Pleasant, Linville, this stripe kind of through here where it gets the darker reds. That's where this comes into play over here. You kind of just match up your colors. Like if you're at a pool stick, when you're testing like pH, same process. You just kind of look at this and that tells you kind of how intense this is, how much is falling. Again, farther you get from the radar, it's a little bit less accurate. Here, for instance, we're looking 7,800 feet in the air off of ground level. So we kind of have to guess whatever is between 8,000 feet and Lawrenceburg. So that's where the tricky part comes in and where you all come into play. But it shows that heavy band, and it's kind of mixing right through here. You can see the little green stripes starting to impinge on the cold air mass, because it's just like, oh man, they used to teach it in like third grade general science back in the 90s of the same principle, like where your shower curtain sucks in because it's warm air rising, which creates a vacuum, which sucks in cold air, which sinks, and it interacts with that, and you can have like a warm nose or a warm bubble kind of protruding into this cold air mass, and that's what starts melting your precip and starts doing wonky things with what should be falling as snow or sleet or yada yada yada. And it's again, I got a graphic and I'll show you, but that's kind of what's going on at the moment. We expect more of that to continue off and on. It's some stuff over here that you can't see off of radar sight. I don't think I can do the... Yeah, again, apologies. I'm still getting everything set up, folks, because I've got like a national radar view that we can do on here, but I don't have that program 100% set up yet for this. So let's hop over to the models then. I'm going to try to get in the comment section as well real quick and do that too just before we get into all of that. So if you got questions, go ahead and throw those in there and we'll see what we can do. Yep, Bobby, appreciate the reminder. Yep, winter storm warning goes until 6 p.m. tomorrow night unless it gets canceled early or edited or anything like that. And if it does, we'll definitely pass those changes along to you in addition to your apps or your NOAA radio or media sources, TV, broadcast, digital, yada, yada, so on and so forth. So doesn't matter who, biggest thing is just stay aware and informed of the changes. All right, here we go. So we can hop back over here to our models and have a look at the, again, this is what I was looking at a second ago. According to the latest data or refresh or whatever, no power outages in Columbia, so definitely a good thing there as far as that goes, or as far as CPWS is concerned, there are none showing. So all right, we'll roll through that 48-hour loop of HRRR real quick and just kind of answer the general everybody's got of what's it going to be doing at blah, if I have to drive or do when or blah blah, and roll through that real quick. So again, same scale: blue snow, pink freezing rain, sleet, probably purple there, could be a little bit of both. If it's really heavy, it can show up as sleet or kind of get mixed in here in the little pockets. It's just, again, supercomputer's projection of what might happen, scale at the bottom. So again, this starts rolling 7 p.m. Get little breaks in between, and that's about what we've seen. It's got it being yet a little bit more busy coming through than it looks like it will probably be. So let's look at the last run, because again, this stuff updates every hour, y'all. So, and this one's not done running, so we'll look at the last two runs and let that finish. So 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Little break, but still coming pretty good through 9, 10, 11, noon, tapering off 1, maybe a little on the back end too, and that's the end of the model run. So that's 2 p.m. Sunday. Starting 10 midnight. So it's got it picking up midnight and then continuing off and on with broken liquid rain until about 6, and then decently heavy freezing rain for parts of Murray County off and on probably till about noon or 2, looks like from there, but it ends at 11 a.m. So let's look at the temps. And I can zoom this out in a second and show y'all a little bit better explanation of what the temps are doing at the different levels. So this is pretty much ground level. So 23, getting a little bit warmer there. So midnight, 1 a.m., getting right at freezing. Warm nose, again, moving up into Middle Tennessee, getting a little bit more of an eastward expansion like we were thinking. And so it's kind of got these jagged edges, but this is what that warm air is doing. So I'll go ahead and do it. We'll back it out. So my geographically challenged folks, I'll show you where Murray County is. And for my Facebook peeps with the worst video quality, I apologize. So right here, Murray County, Nashville, Tennessee River, state lines, just for reference, Middle Tennessee, southern end, southwest, where we are right there. So there we go. Run it through. So we get, and you see this warm air coming up from the Gulf, 60, 55s, 40s down here, rising through Alabama, and then going back below freezing, 14 Zulus, that'll be 8 a.m., I think, and flirting with freezing back and forth until about 10, and then going back below, model running, 11, so, or noon, looks like. And that's what's going on. This big plume of warm air is hitting all this cold air and rising through the atmosphere. Cold air sinks, remember, warm air rises, the shower curtain thing. And that's what's going on. So if you can imagine tilting all this on its side and looking at it three-dimensionally, or imagining you're on the ground and looking north this way towards like West Virginia, this is a big gigantic bubble that's coming up through the atmosphere and rising and interacting with all this stuff. I'll show you the big view. There you go. You can see right here this big bubble roll up through the atmosphere right through here, and it almost rolls like a wave, doesn't it? Let's look at it fast. So let's roll this back. Almost rolls like a wave, doesn't it? Right? It follows basically the same principles. Like air is technically, I think, by the scientific definition, a fluid. It's made up of multiple parts and something, and yada, yada, yada. But it rolls just like that because it behaves the same way, and it's this big plume of warm air getting sucked up from the Gulf. Gulf is wonderful, you know, like March through October and stuff, whenever you want to go down, but it's not great for the rest of the winter months for us, because it usually cold air coming down from Canada, as it interacts with this jet stream winds, and all of it as it gets going. Right around the time it gets going good, it's usually right around in here, just because this is where we're at on this rocky planet, third one from a big star that's not really just special outside of its solar system, and the polar winds come down because we're this blah 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 shape, and we're right here. Rockies, mountains, you have cold air damming, it kind of creates a funnel. There we go. So it's just where we live at on this non much other than ordinary planet. So that's how the weather works, but it's all kind of cool how it works. So again, all that interacts, changing your precip types. Let's pop back over to the... I've got that right here, and I'll show y'all again another kind of like horizontal. If you're looking at the air and can see what it's doing and can see kind of what temperature it is. Like you have thermal vision of what's going on when you have a warm layer interacting with that cold layer that's already in place and what all of that does. So, oops, on the wrong size. There we go. All right, so again, when you have no warm air in place, which really works out for us because our really, really cold air dries out our moisture, you have all snow. That's why we get a little bit sometimes here and there, or it's a changeover event like this where we have snow showers or sleet or mix or yada. When you have sleet, so you have a more shallow warm layer, or it's a little bit higher aloft, and it has enough time for whichever sized droplets to freeze back into ice, into pellets, or like fluffy ice pellets called grapple before it gets back to the surface. When you have a deeper warm layer, or a warm layer that's closer to the ground that kind of rushes in, sound familiar with our Tennessee weather on a normally cold time of year, or vice versa, when we have that warm front rush through in January, you know, there's probably going to be severe weather following it or something crazy. And that's what's going on here. So that warm layer is deep enough or close enough to the ground to where any precip falling through it, whether it be sleet, snow, ice, whatever, it doesn't have enough time to freeze all the way, but freezes upon contact with your car, your house, roof, trees, power lines, whatever, because of the cold air that's still near enough the ground, or the ground still being freezing because it was like 2 hours ago before the weather went all crazy. And that's what is going on here. So, and again, they're all the way to the right. When it's warm all the way up and down enough to keep it all rain, it just rains. So, yes, and Bobby loves the word grapple. That's what's going on there. So when folks are saying, hey, you know, I looked at my little weather station or my thermometer out in the garden and it's saying it's 31 degrees and y'all are telling me it's raining, but it's freezing, what's going on? It's that. A little harder to explain without the visual and just typing in the comments section, but there's a lot of things going on there as far as our dynamics, and they all have to work out just exactly right for us to get any kind of snow or anything other than ice, or other than a mix of whatever we just decide to fall out of the sky. So again, if you're here for just for the facts, ma'am, and all that other fun stuff, that's about it. That's your cue. I think the rest of it will just be weather nerdery from here on out, answering questions, so on and so forth. I'll try to get back in the comment section in just a second again in the chat and see what's going on there. JC, yeah, it's still, again, according to the models, just looking at the latest and the greatest, and trying to just forehead to monitor and look at all the runs and kind of compare differences and trends. It's been trying to say, especially on the NAM, which kind of NAM is historically kind of sucky at snow, but it's suggested that we may get some reprieves from the mix, the freezing rain or whatever, and have some areas of rain, or maybe even some kind of like medium rain there. And that's, yeah, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. So it's got it put off a little, maybe some heavier stuff. Hopefully this is what's going on and the model's getting this correct, because if not, heavier stuff coming through here with the freezing line here equals like these are your bigger ice accretions. Same thing with these heavier red spots here, or reddy pink spots in the freezing rain lines. So it's got it close. Even for the NAM, I think some of the other models and the Euro still just like taking us to like the movie Frozen level with some of the ice. I think GFS is still laying it kind of on it, but NAM is being a lot more conservative there, keeping it away and or kind of just in the edge of western Murray County there, maybe some on the end, and then tapering off around noon, 1 p.m. Could be some sleet, showers, snow there on the backside, going through about 9, 10 p.m. Monday, and then that's daylight Monday. So should taper off. Sometimes most of the models are trending between about like 12 and 4, so sometimes in the afternoon it's looking like it should trend back and taper off. There may be, like I said, some snow on the back of it, but it shouldn't be anything additional accumulation wise. So this is the regular NAM. The one we just looked at was a little bit more of an HD version, showing a similar thing about 12 to 3 p.m, probably closer to 12 to 2 there. It tapering off, but still showing some pretty heavy mix in the neighborhood. So we'll have to see if some of that pans out overnight. But the main thing, looking at tomorrow daytime, it's just going to be close as to wherever that line decides to drape across here, as far as the boundary of that warm air, kind of messing things up for us. So looked at HRRR, NAM 3K. We'll look at the Euro real quick. Hold on, we didn't look at ice accretion amounts, sorry. So let's roll back to HRRR. We just talked about air. We didn't talk about the consequences. All right, so yeah, this is one thing I want to start off with. It was thinking that we got around 337, so throw that out there first. It looks like it's throwing it just a hair heavy. Oh, hold on, that's the wrong run. That's part of the reason why. Sorry about that. Look at the 03, the most recent one. So total ice, this is what it thinks will fall and stick. It's thinking we've only got about a half of a tenth, so not even a whole tenth of an inch there. So the freezing rain product, again, a little bit more generous. Is what it thinks is just going to fall, whether it sticks to whatever it happens to fall on based on that algorithm. So usually use this to bookend. Run it through here. That's 6 a.m. It's trying to still throw that vein a little bit just north of Murray County, taking it more towards like through Hickman County, Perry County, around that way from Wayne, Hardin County. Really decent there through state line area with northern Mississippi, and giving parts of Murray about a half an inch, maybe 6/10, but that line gets real sharp as soon as you go into like Fairview, where you got 3/4, 8/10, almost up to an inch in this part of the vein right there, over an inch there. So been a little generous. So again, throw that in there with appropriate salt. This is just the best guess, and it does it every hour, folks. Like I said, you can go look at all these yourself if you are also inclined. So that's going through noon. Again, this is just what all it thinks would fall. It's got us a little bit closer there, so maybe flirting around with the freezing line being a little bit closer to Columbia, just shy of an inch. So again, just one model, just one prediction, just one run, folks. So none of this is set in stone. Definitely not the gospel by any means. So let's look at the ice. Pretty much not worried about snow anymore, so that's why we're not looking at any of that fun stuff. Got it a little bit closer to like western Murray County, Williamsport, Santa Fe, showing a little higher, only about a quarter for most of Murray. Maybe sharper up a little bit, 3/10 of an inch, half an inch. So just going to depend on where that big swath of the heavier ice accretion is going to end up landing. So, and that's all going to depend on that warm pocket and how it interacts with cold air and where exactly all this fun stuff goes. Because yeah, it's almost showing 2 inches down here, like in Mississippi, 1.5 inches coming up through Hickman County, 1.25 inches, Nashville almost 9/10, and we're Columbia itself pretty good, but going towards Williamsport almost an inch. And again, this is worst case. I usually use these to bookend, so this is assuming everything that falls sticks. So this is a little bit more of the overblown product of the two, just showing you like what's the total potential of the whole thing. NAM, so North American model. So again, pretty kind of sharp dividing line there. So trace for most of Columbia, Murray County, and then by the time you get to Santa Fe, 1/2 inch. Time you get out of the county up here towards Fairview, 8/10, almost 9, and pretty decent accretion. It goes up pretty sharply pretty quickly, like we've been thinking. So that's why we were saying, it's may not be that way for everybody, but across the city or the county from you, it could be like ice mageddon, because an inch or close to it is rough stuff, folks. That will almost certainly cause power outages. That's going to bring down trees. That's going to do all sorts of yucky stuff for a while. So don't want to see it play out like that. The Euro's almost 6 hours old though, and this all stuff's moving really fast. We've been looking at a bunch of Zero models. We look at the last run of the Euro because it's just been repeatedly just like slamming us with the ice. So again, for comparisons and establishing this is sake, we'll look at that. So about right, 1 to 2, 1.5. Ice. Yeah, see, it's got that vein a little wider, and it's trying to trend it a little closer to Murray. Inch in southern southwestern Hickman County, going up towards Fairview, Franklin. Inch parts of Murray there, 8/10, 9/10, 6/10. Looks like on average going down through Culleoka, half into Marshall County, tapers off real sharply to almost nothing. Quarter, tenths, quarter. So it's just it depends on how, and that's probably given a little bit more room. I don't think it's going to be quite that wide and quite that extensive as it goes across, but it's given, I think, a little margin for error there. So yeah, same story. So assuming everything that fell, pretty decent ice accretion, most of Columbia, eastern Murray County, but as soon as you get over into the rest of central Murray County, it gets to an inch quickly, or going up, just depending on where exactly that vein decides to form in the ice, just wherever this warm front that happens to interact with it. And that's the part, folks, and that's the tricky bit, because it's always a moving target, and there's so many things that go into it. So that's why this is always just tricky business. So make sure you got all the comments. We'll probably wrap it up. Don't have too much more than that. Again, folks, like I said, it's just gonna be a wait and see, and there's so many things going on, so that's about all we will be able to do, is just wait and do some seeing. Stay warm, have fun, eat snacks, watch movies. It's what the fam and I have been doing, just trying to enjoy things more. And now that it's here, not check the models quite as often, and bug at you folks that do have the day off and don't have to go anywhere, so you can spend time with your loved ones and enjoy it. Not much, again, like I said, we can do at this point. I have noticed it wasn't a power line, it was a utility line over near the neighborhood here, had already kind of started to get some sag to it from the ice weight. It looks like we've got a decent glaze to where the kids can like almost run across the snow or step across the snow, and it's got that nice shiny glaze on it enough to where it'll support them. So it's not much snow, so it's not floofy or anything, but it's definitely got a decent bit of ice out there already. So didn't set up a good measuring station on this one because I thought it was going to be a little windier. So, and again, not all my stuff is even unpacked yet. So, Amy wants to know if there's a chance it could end up as sleet when the rain starts. It could come back and forth. It just depends on how exactly those layers interact. They can kind of, along the boundaries where we're going to be, it can almost, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's, if you could imagine like something, two like trash cans swirling together, if you duct tape them together and flung them down a hill and had to keep them together, but they had to roll around each other, you can get kind of little pockets in that between these boundaries that can maybe force some colder air down, especially in these gustier conditions, if we have those that do come out 20, 30 mile an hour wind at the ground. It's coming up as a lot more than that from in a lot farther aloft in the atmosphere where these temperature changes are coming from. And it could possibly, we could see that sleet vein be a little bit further to the south. I'd say it's less likely. We'll probably just see rain and or freezing rain. Could be some sleet in there. There could be, but probably have a better chance. Probably farther up towards Williamson County, Nashville, 40 area up there. Let's see. I'm not going to butcher your name. Kiaya. Anything else coming for Hohenwald overnight? That's going to be the trick. We're going to look at the radar again, put it in motion for you all, and we're just going to have to kind of watch out for this stuff popping up. So that's the live radar. Nothing at the moment. We'll be watching for things to come up from this area. I need to, again, be able to get my long-range radar for you all and show that to you. Just don't have all the software ready to go with our new broadcast system yet. So see the area mix moving out a couple hours ago, and it's been maybe some falling here and there again because Murray County is about 3,000 or 4,000 feet under the radar what it can see between it and the ground. So kind of have to guess on some of those things, just like we do when we're looking for rotation, with mesos, trying to maybe produce a wall cloud or tornadoes and stuff. So at the moment, not. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. It shouldn't be much of an additional accumulation. It was pretty, I think it was level 2. It was the moderate there. It didn't get into the red on the graphic for the ice accretion tonight. I don't think. I'd have to run that back and look at it. But tomorrow is it's going to be during the day, probably tomorrow morning if we're going to get that. So less likely overnight, more likely around dawn, after dawn. Okay, Boppy just threw it in the chat there. I see it now. Central Mississippi, Northern Mississippi, heavy precip headed this way later on. Okay, wide swath freezing rain or freezing precip. Okay. Dave's heard lots just regular rain. It's possible because we're right there along that freezing line, which will not refreeze. The ground is still going to, in most cases, be close enough to freezing or frozen, and with the snow and stuff, so it's probably going to be enough rain to just make all that yucky because we didn't get much snow. But once it's only going to spend a couple hours, it looked like above freezing, and then our temps are going to come back down and kind of like slam going into next week, and everything's probably going to refreeze every night, I would imagine. So black ice is probably going to be a thing going into the work week. The sun and some radiant heat and other things will melt some of it if we can get enough sun and it's not cloudy. But every night it looks like most of that stuff is going to refreeze. So definitely if you're one of those essential folks, you have to go to work, have to get out, keep an eye out for black ice and stuff in the morning, and melt and stuff like running out of rock faces, or if you have to go through shaded spots, assume if it looks wet, it's icy. So just slow it down, take it careful. Yep, so Jade wanted to ask the opposite side of the coin question. Yeah, so if the temps don't rise as predicted, or if the warm nose is a little weaker, or if our little slice of cold air mass manages to push it back 25 more miles, yeah, things could be different. So that definitely, it works both ways. So I usually try to stay kind of right there, middle of the road, listen to all the models like a symphony, like I said, and try to see who's out of tune, who I think is the most right, or who's the one that's onto it, or look at everything and go from there. So that's what I try to do. Yes, Jennifer said, bless all the first responders and linemen, everybody out in this mess. Appreciate everybody for sure. Got those in the family still, and the friends and the coworkers and everything else. So definitely appreciate all those folks, and we definitely don't want to get them out unless we have to. I think that's got most everything in the comments. Green is regular rain, Kathy. Sorry, it took me a second to get to that. Scale over here. Snow here at the bottom is going to be like your mixed sleet, ice pellets, and then freezing rain starting at the lighter pink kind of salmon color, then going into the reddier pink, and then regular rain here going up into moderate or heavy rain is the yellows. So that's kind of the scale going on. If I turn our algorithm off that applies the temp layers, you can just kind of see it as you would look at regular radar. So heavier stuff going on down here, but these up here likely could be ice or heavier amounts of like freezing rain, snow, something like that. So looks like sleet, which would come up as a higher radar echo than freezing rain or snow. Snow comes back softer but more dense because it absorbs radar. The sleet comes back as really noisy, really small, bunch of stuff, different sizes. And then freezing rain, this is the part where the radar has to guess of where the freezing line is, what the altitude is, and yada. So I've actually never tried to do the 3D on this on a winter storm. Let's see if it'll actually let us do that. Hold on. Never tried this. We can learn together. So this is a couple hours ago. See heavier freezing rain, it's saying coming down here, and then we have that kind of fine fuzzy line right there between Cornersville, Pulaski, where it thinks it's melting. So let's try to do a 3D on this. I think it should let us. I don't know what exactly it'll show, but yeah, it's not gonna give me enough, I don't think, on the air to kind of demonstrate it, or yeah, not really. You can see the higher winds up there aloft, like we were talking about, but it's not gonna, yeah, I don't think. No. What if we can look at it in hail mode? And nope. Yeah, nothing's high enough. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna let us do like enough of a, yeah, there's no way to make it make sense in that view. So okay, sorry, I thought I'd try. Never thought about it before, but it's all, again, just so many moving parts, and that's where we run into all the issues there with the forecasting and everything. Taylor wanted to know about power disruptions tonight. I've heard of some in the area, like towards Fayetteville. There was a brief one I heard earlier. It looks like it's been restored since, where I think an individual transformer blew. You know, old branches, 1/10 of an inch of ice could be enough to take those out. Usually healthier trees, it's not an issue until you get like over a quarter, between quarter and a half. Power outages, though, like once you get above a half, between half and 3/4, pretty likely. And then 3/4 to like an inch, it's pretty much guaranteed. And that's usually when you get big stuff coming down. So that's one of the things that we don't want to see. Culleoka near Hollywood's going to be about the same place. I mean, it's kind of right there, southeastern Murray County, so it's not going to be far enough away to matter. And for me to be able to tell you with enough certainty, like we were talking about the other day on the post, just kind of at the limit of scientific certainty until it actually gets here. So the best thing we can do is look and try to guess. It used to have... Radar Scope does an accumulation algorithm that we can look at. One sec. And it guesses, again, based on temps and what kind of stuff's falling and yada yada that it's seeing from the radar, applies an algorithm to it, and tries to see what it thinks is falling, and it will show you the accumulation. Let's swap over to Radar Scope. So, all right, let me turn the cities back on for you there. So, all right, Columbia, Captain there. So, let's roll things back. Yeah, hold on, I'm gonna have to do it 2-panel because that's not gonna give y'all any context. One sec. Pre-step depiction. So again, green, yellow, rain, pink, mix, blue, snow up here. So we'll change this to, does it have, yeah, I think. Yeah, okay, yeah, this is the one we did earlier. I was thinking the desktop version had it. So when you see the heavier stripes show up here on this side, that's where it's picking up those possibly heavier bands of either sleet or freezing rain accumulation based on what it's seeing falling. So that's kind of the gist of what we're talking about when I say you may see bands coming through, where one side of town may have a decent stripe of ice through there and the other side may not, or vice versa, other side of the county may have like big ice and you don't. It's kind of just going to come down to the luck of the draw of where these heavier spots come through and where they slide through, how quick they're moving, again, temps, winds, all kinds of stuff. So that's the some of the moving parts that we talk about when we say there's just a lot of moving parts with all this. So that's all I got, folks. I think I've gotten to pretty much the end of the comment section. I think that's yeah, JC, I wouldn't lose any sleep tonight. Just kind of make sure, like, if you've got yourself like I do and got a fire going in the fireplace, make sure you've got a CO monitor, you're being safe, all that fun stuff. Usual precautions just for power outages. If you have like a real big tree in your front yard, bad branch in it or something, keep an eye on stuff like that. But no, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. Lewisburg, Marshall Highway exit 32, solid ice. Appreciate that, Chastity. Yeah, Andrew brought up a great point. So just because it's showing rain on the radar doesn't mean it will reach the surface as regular rain. Correct, right? Because if it's falling, say, on your car, for instance, metal's going to cool down a lot quicker than the ground, but the ground's still been freezing. So if it bounces, 2 or 3 degrees above freezing over 2 or 3 hours, that's probably not going to make a huge difference in the ground temperature. So liquid rain at 33 degrees hitting your car at 30 degrees, or whatever, even less with the wind temp and it being metal and elevated, it's still going to freeze right to it, just like everything else. So yeah, that's an excellent point. So just because it's showing rain or heavy rain doesn't mean anything, folks. So it just depends on what it's falling on. If it's already fallen onto ice, we can kind of get like a big lasagna sandwich on the roadways, or if it falls with sleet and it gets packed on the tire tracks, all those things can be kind of gnarly, just depending on what it boils down to as far as surface temps and what's falling. Yeah, it's been kind of rough and yucky. So yeah, the kids have definitely been disappointed in Miss Brittany as well. So solid ice in Tasha's neck of the woods. I can believe it. So Jeremy says Mount Pleasant's turning to ice. Yeah, I can believe it. It's the same up here. We've got just a little bit of snow, but it's got a big shiny glaze on it for sure. So again, we'll keep y'all updated as far as any changes that go in the forecast. Anything from the NWS, pass that along to y'all. When we see like the county offices or city government, stuff like that closing, try to pass those on to y'all as well. But other than that, I think that's all I've got. Y'all stay safe, stay warm, and if you have, or if you can, stay off the road until at least we see kind of what dawn brings and what everything looks like in the morning as far as what's coming through. But other than that, folks, y'all be good. I'm out.